there, Jessica Sentel here. I'm the Library Media Specialist at Mount Pleasant Middle School, and I am going to walk you through today how to create a Bitmoji classroom, which you can also use as your daily interactive schedule by changing out some of the information that's there. So here I have one example I've created. You can use your Bitmoji classroom for so many different things. You can use it as a Schoology kind of header. You can use it to put together a project for students. You can use it as your Bitmoji waiting room, your Zoom waiting room. The possibilities are endless. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you a couple groups to follow that are really going to help you to think about new ways to use the Bitmoji classroom or the interactive classroom all the time. All right, so here I have my next slide is a getting to know the teacher slide. So this is something you might want to do for your website, for your Schoology page. This is something you might want to do at the beginning of the school year as an activity where the students create a room and you share your room first to allow them to get to know you and to model what this is like. One thing I would caution you about with Bitmoji is that the actual Bitmojis are recommended for ages 12 and up. You do need to be aware that there are some inappropriate images in there, so I wouldn't recommend that for anything below middle school. If you are interested in having students create avatars, but you don't want to worry about the content in Bitmoji, there's another website called Pixton that you can utilize with students instead, and that one's more student-friendly. All right, so here I have this about me. I have my favorite show. I love this show. David is my favorite character. He is hilarious. My husband and I binge watched this over quarantine, and I'm just waiting a little while because I'm going to watch it all over again from the beginning because it just makes me so happy. I also have over here my little workout corner. I have my food here on the couch because I am a health coach on the side, and so health, nutrition, and exercise are important to me. These are weights that I so hope to get one day, but right now with quarantine, with COVID, they are unavailable everywhere all the time. I stalk them and I have been unsuccessful, but these are Select Tech weights and I want them so badly. So if you see them, you know where they are. My email address, jsentel@livingston.org. Let me know. So then I also have my family photographs on the wall. This is my husband, Michael. This is my daughter, Kayla. She's 3. Here I am. And this is my son, Carter, who is 6. There they are again, Carter and Kayla. We love to spend time at the lake in the summer. We go to Randolph Park Beach. It's amazing. I'm so sad that it's closed for the year. But we were there all summer, and I can't wait for next summer. Here we're eating at, I'm always going to say, I think it's the Chit Chat. This is the Chit Chat Diner, and this is one of our favorite places to go eat. Here is a picture of my goddaughter, my niece, who was born in April, and I love photography. So this is actually a photograph that I took because the photographer was closed because of COVID. So I took her newborn photos. And here are my kids with my niece. And obviously she has grown a lot very quickly. Her name is Eloise. And she is now, oh goodness, I'm going to get this wrong, 4 or 5 months. I have my MacBook here on the couch. I had a initial love-hate relationship with my MacBook, but now I've dressed it up. I've got a case and all that good stuff. I'm getting used to it. I got a mouse, and so we're slowly learning to love each other. I have a couple books up here because as a library media specialist, reading is so important to me, and these are a couple of my favorites. I have my art tools because I, A, am artistic myself, and B, I have a makerspace in my media center, and allowing students to express themselves in the makerspace is important to me as well. And finally, I have a microphone because I also love to sing. I was the lead in my high school musical, The Music Man, and I played Marion the Librarian. So I always find that pretty funny. So that's about me, a little bit about me, and how I'm able to use the Bitmoji classroom kind of approach to introduce myself to students in a way that's really visual and fun. All right, so in the slideshow that you are going to have access to, you can click through any of these items in here. And I did that to make your life easier. And I also did that to model how you could utilize one of these slideshows for content. So it could be information here, your interactive daily schedule, links and information for students to follow perhaps in order that they're going to do for the class period or for the week. You can also do this for an assignment and have sections of the assignment linked here. And I will get to how to do these links in a bit. Everything you see, I will talk about how to create. So, but if I click here on backgrounds, you'll see it brings me right to the background section of this slideshow. So I'm not clicking through slide after slide trying to find something. And then I can always go back home to come back here. All right, so backgrounds is the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about. You have two ways that you can go about adding a background to your slide. One is directly, well, actually three ways. One is directly in slides. One is through an extension called Unsplash, and one is through Google image search. All right, so the directions are here on these slides, so you can refer to these, but I'm just going to show you this firsthand. All right, so let me pull up. I had started a slideshow, and I'm going to demonstrate because I'm actually going to make something, and I figured this would be the perfect time for me to demo the whole thing all over again. So let me pull this up. I actually put a background in before I decided I was going to make my video, but I'm going to show you how I did it and what are the other ways that you can do it. Just a little tip over here above your slide sorter, you have two ways that you can insert slides. You have the plus button, which just automatically inserts a slide, usually with a title, a subtitle section, and a text box beneath. But I want a plain one, and I don't want to have to delete all that stuff, so I'm going to do blank. And I did that by clicking on this downward arrow, and that opens up the menu there for your slides. And that's going to be important later in this tutorial as well. All right, so here I have my nice blank slide. So we're going to do it this way. Click background, click choose image. All right, so now I have options here for how I can choose my image, and I'm going to come down to the end, and I'm going to select Google image search. And now I can type in whatever it is that I want to find. So I can do something like blue room background. Let's see what comes up. All right, so these are all images that are copyright free. These are free to use images. So if you are trying to adhere to copyright, which you should be, these would all be great images. If you use images that you find on Google image search that are not filtered by use, you do need to cite them somewhere in your presentation. I usually do that at the end of my presentations. All right, so I can click on one of these, and I just select insert, and it puts it right in as a background, and then I can start building my room on top of this. So that's one way to do it. Another way you can do this is with the add-on Unsplash. Okay, so if you want to get add-ons, you have to come to add-ons, get add-ons, and then you'll just type Unsplash. And this is whitelisted for you, so you can install this no problem. And then once you've installed it, it'll be here in your add-ons. All right, so I click on my add-ons, I come down to Unsplash Images, I select Insert and Unsplash Photo, and now I have my Unsplash menu popping up here on my right. And so I can search for a blue room in here and find something. Hopefully there's going to be, it's somewhat more limited. What Unsplash is it's a collection of images that are completely free to use for commercial and personal purposes. So again, this is nice. With education, you are covered a lot more in terms of how you can use images. because you're not using them for profit. It's extra important to use images that are free to use if you're using it for personal profit. So if, like, for example, you have a teacher's paid teachers store and you want to share some of this on there. I'm going to actually do one more search because my actual intention today was to create a book room of scary books. So I'm going to try and do let's do scary background and see what comes up. Okay, so maybe I'm doing something where I could do the woods instead. That could be interesting. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be an actual room. You really can let your creativity take you in any direction that you choose. All right, but you'll notice that when I inserted my Unsplash photo, it put it in as a background size. Okay, so Unsplash, this app assumes that you're using these images as backgrounds, so it crops them. So if you double click, you'll see that it's here, it's cropped. If you don't want to use the crop, you can come up here to this reset image tool and it will take that cropping away. So if you were going to use this for another purpose other than using it as a background, I recommend doing that instead of having to double click and drag all these guidelines out. But since I am using it as a background, I'm going to leave it exactly where it is. One thing that you may want to do is shift it if the image cut off a part that you like, so you can double click and then you can start hitting your arrow key up or down to shift it into place where you like it. And that's that. All right, and the very last way that you can go about putting in a background image is from Google Image Search. So let's go to there and let's do spooky room background, because that's what I searched to find I think that was what I searched up to find my first image. And then I click on images here and I have some options of what I could utilize. And this one here is what I picked. And so what you're going to want to do if you utilize one of these images is you're going to save the image or copy paste the image. Right? You can do either way. If you save the image as and you insert it as a background, it's going to automatically drag it out into a particular space, and you're not going to have a lot of control, but it's not going to move. If you copy the image and paste it in, it is a movable object, but you can have more control as to how you crop it and where it sits on the page. So for the most part, I do copy my image and paste it in. You do want to make sure that you click on this thumbnail because this is a compressed image, so the quality is going to be impacted. In order to get access to the full-size image, which is 1680 pixels by 1050, and this is what you want to copy and to paste into your program. This is pretty cool too. Let's try this one just for fun. So copy this one. I go back into my slideshow. I'm going to paste her on in there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make her flush with the corner, and then I'm going to drag it out. And now you have a couple options. You can just drag it out this way and see if it looks okay, not too distorted, which it looks good. Alternatively, if you wanted to keep the kind of proportions here, you can drag it out past, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt, if I'm being honest, but you can drag it out so that it's larger than your space. And I usually try and make it match at least one direction, so I'm not cropping so much out. And then you can double click, you crop up to the edge here. So you'll see that edge right back there. And then now you can double click and adjust it where you want it on your screen. And there you go. So you have more options to play around with where it sits. Otherwise, you can save it as, right click, save image as. I usually just leave it right there in my downloads. It'll be at the top of my downloads folder. I go in here, I grab another slide, insert. I'm sorry, I keep going there when I need to go here, the background. I do that when I'm doing my own slideshows too, so it's not just for this presentation. But I go to background, I choose image. I'm going to go to upload this time instead, browse, Here's at the top that image, I double click it, and done. So there it is. So you see how it stretched it out as opposed to how I did it here manually. So with this background, it looks fine. With some other ones, it may not. So it's just, I wanted to make sure you knew all the different approaches that you could use to put in a background, either directly through a Google search in Slides, through Unsplash, through, which one was this? These are both Unsplash, right? No, this was the Google Slides. This was the Unsplash. This was a copy pasted image, and this was a saved uploaded image. So these are your 4 ways that you can go about inserting your background. All right, so I'm going to get rid of some of these. I'm trying to decide. I'm going to get rid of these 3. I like these. I'm going to have trouble deciding which one I want to build on. This was my original one, though, so I think I'm going to stick with this for now. All right, so then now I want to start adding in my items, right? So I want to build up my room. And this is where it gets really fun because you get to be like a digital interior designer. And you get to kind of think about things that you want to have in your space that maybe you couldn't have in real life, right? Things cost money, but lopping images in there you can do for free. So that's fun. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and first thing I want to do is I want to find a bookcase. I can insert images a couple of ways. So I can go ahead and I can do insert image, and I can do a web search directly in Slides, just like I did for my background. Search the web, and then I needed to do transparent. I needed to type the word transparent before I searched for my image because otherwise I get that background around my image, and I don't want that background. So I click on that, I click insert, and now this one should give me, there we go, nice, clean one. All right, so this is one option. I can use this image here. Usually what I try to do, you see how this has a big kind of white or empty space around the bookcase. I double click and I crop that down because as I add more elements to my slide, it's going to be difficult for me to grab the one that I'm intending to grab with all this extra space kind of covering up what I might want to be holding on to. So I just do that to make my life easier. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try and show you, or I'm going to show you rather, how to insert an image from Google instead. So the images that get pulled up in Slides are limited because they're filtered. So I can come over here and I can search for spooky bookcase, and I'm going to get more items, more options. Notice I can search transparent in Google Images because I can go to tools and I can change the color to transparent. So you can do it either way, but I just tend to use this tool to filter to make them all transparent. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's kind of tiny. Let's see. That's pretty beat up looking. This is pretty cool. It's like kind of like a coffin, but that's a tiny size. I want to make sure that they're large enough. Oh, that's pretty neat. Let's grab that one. Copy this one. The only issue with this one is going to be that those bars are going to be behind my books, but we'll see. We will see if I can work with that or not. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep both. And that way I can decide later what I want to use. All right, so there I have my image. Again, I'm going to double click and I'm going to crop it down, right? And I'm going to just go back because I realized I did that pretty quickly, and I just want to make sure that you saw that what I did was I opened up the thumbnail, just like with the background. I right-clicked, I copy image, and I paste it right in there. Okay. Now, one other way would be if I'm not finding anything I want that's transparent. Instead, I can do any color. And then what I can do is I can find something that I like that doesn't have a blank background. All right, let's try. Let's say I want to use this bookcase, and I see here that it has a white background. Now, this one is nice because it has flush edges, so I could just crop this down, but I'm going to show you how to remove a background for an image that you can't just crop down. So for this, I need to open up that thumbnail, right-click on the full-size image, save image as, I'm going to save it again into my downloads. And then I'm going to go ahead to this website called remove.bg. And here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload that image. Takes away the background. Now it's going to be transparent. So if I plop that in my slide, I'm not going to have a big white box around it. Click download. This is going to go right to my downloads again. I go back into my slideshow, insert, image, upload from computer. Brings me to my downloads. Here it is. Pop it in. And there we go. We're good to go. All right, so I'm going to keep all these because I don't know which one I'm going to use. All right, so I have my bookshelf now. Same thing I did before. I'm going to double click and I'm going to crop it down so that I don't have any excess area that might be covering up other items. And then when I'm trying to grab those, I'm grabbing my bookshelf instead. All right, the next thing I want to show you is for these elements that I bring into my slideshow. Every single one of them, I click on them. I click the format button, format options, and I always give them a drop shadow. And I do this just because it makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional and more like an actual room. I'm not really seeing them so well on these because there's a dark background, but when you have lighter backgrounds, it really makes those items pop. So that's click on the item, format options, drop shadow is all you have to do. All right, so now you've seen how to do your background. You've seen a few options for how to do your images. All of the directions for what I showed you are in the slideshow, so if you need to go back and go through those directions for yourself, they're there for you. So there's all your options here, all the way down to how to do the remove.bg. All right, so now we're going to look at, and we did formatting somewhat. I do want to show you quickly how to move images forward and backward. So let me go back in here, and I'm actually going to grab a second bookcase for this reason. And here we go. All right, so let's say I wanted to have these two bookcases for some reason, and I plopped this one in second, but I want this one to be tucked behind this one. I have a few options for how I can do that. I can hit Control on my keyboard. Okay, so if you're using the Mac, you're going to hit Command, and then you would hit the up arrow to move it forward, the down arrow to move it back. So you see, look, back one, back two, which puts it behind the background, which I don't want, but just so you see. And then if I want to move it forward, Control or Command, up, up. Now, sometimes I want to move something all the way to the back, or I have a lot of items on my screen and I want to move it just about all the way to the back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit Control-Shift and the down key brings it all the way back. Control-Shift and the up key brings it all the way forward. So in this situation, if I had a lot of stuff on my screen and I didn't want to have to keep hitting the down button to move it back layer by layer, what I probably would do is move it all the way back first, and then so I did Shift, Control back down, and then hit the Control key and start moving it up layer by layer. So it's perhaps fewer layers to move forward than back. So those are just quick ways to move your items around on your screen. You could right-click an item and order, and you can do it this way. But the short keys are just so much easier when you're trying to get something done. We're always trying to get something done. All right, so what I'm doing here now is I'm moving the item with my keyboard. This makes it easier to move it in increments to place it exactly where I want, as opposed to trying to do with the mouse. So it's just using the arrow keys to move it. If I want to move in smaller increments, I can hold the Shift key down while I move the arrow key, and this allows me to get it right in place. Obviously, if you want to utilize the guidelines to make it centered on the screen, so here I have it centered towards the horizontal line. If I move it up, you'll see here that it's flush with the top of this bookcase or flush with the bottom, or here it's centered with this bookcase. Over here, it's centered with the whole entire presentation. So you can play around with those guidelines and have them help you to make your room balanced however it is that you want it to be balanced. All right. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to do the master. And this is a good time to do it because I put in a couple items that probably are going to stay. I'm actually going to get rid of this puppy. That are probably going to stay in my screen regardless of whether or not I change the images that are in front, right? So if I do a spooky book room, I may want to change the books out, but I don't necessarily want to change the background or the bookcase again. So I don't want to worry about accidentally grabbing these items as I'm working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my slide. I'm going to select Control A, and that selects everything that's on my slide. Okay, so for the Mac, it's Command A, then Control C or Command C to copy all of those. Now I'm going to go into Slide, Edit Master, and then I can click on any single one of these. All right, so I'm going to click into this slide. I'm going to do Control A again so I can select everything that's in this master slide and delete this. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Control V to paste all that in. And every time I do Control, because I'm using my Windows device right now, every time I do Control on a Mac, you would do Command. So Command A to copy all or to select all the items that are on that slide, delete, and then Command V to paste in what I had on my clipboard from my slide. And then I can just go ahead and hit X. And now I can actually delete my slide because if I go back up here to the sorter, and this is where this was going to be important, I said later in the presentation, this downward arrow, now one of my layouts is actually the slide that I created, and none of this stuff is going to be grabbable. So as I add items on top of this, it's basically a background. And again, the directions for how to do that are here. It's not required that you do that, but I do think at a certain point it does make your life easier once you've decided the parts of your Google Interactive Bitmoji classroom that you want to kind of remain fixed. All right, now it is Bitmoji time. So this is the super fun part. Everything's been fun, but this is the extra fun part. All right, so if you don't have the Bitmoji extension, you are going to need to get that. You need to make sure that you have a Bitmoji already created outside of your computer. So the Bitmoji application is something that you have to do on something like your phone or your iPad. You have to download that Bitmoji app, create an account in there, design your Bitmoji, and then once you've done that, then you can link it to the extension here in Google, and you can use it in the whole Google suite. All right, so in order to get this extension, I'm going to go to my App Store right here, our web store rather, and then I'm going to search for Bitmoji, and then you're going to hit Add to Chrome. All right, so I already have it, so my Add to Chrome button's gone, but you're going to add it to Chrome. Once you do that, it should pop up here in your extension tray. If it does not, or if at any point in time it disappears, right-click any of these extensions, select Manage Extensions. Okay, so this is going to bring me into this particular extension, so I'm going to go back. And here, I have all of my extensions that I've ever added to my Chrome browser. And you'll see some of them are toggled off, and some of them are toggled on. And you just want to make sure that Bitmoji is, in fact, toggled on. And so if it ever disappears or you don't see it there, it's not gone. You just want to follow these steps to bring it back to your tray. All right, so now we're at the point where you've created your Bitmoji and you've downloaded, or you've added rather, this extension. The first time you click on it, it's going to ask you to connect your account. So you'll follow the directions that pop up here. So there'll be a button for you to do that. You'll sign in. And once you've signed in, you will see your Bitmoji here. Now, the first thing that people tend to ask is, how do I get Bitmojis without words? Sometimes you can crop words out. And so if I really wanted to use, let's see, right-click, I'm going to do right-click, copy image, paste her in there. If I really wanted to use, whoops, didn't work. Do that again. Right-click, Copy image. Paste. There we go. I really want to use this copy image. I can crop it down. Okay, so now if I crop it down, it's going to cut some of my head off. One thing I can do to try and make this work for me is when I double click on this image, I can change the shape of my cropping tool by going up here to the crop tool, hitting that downward arrow, shapes, make it a circle, and then look at that. I tricked it. So now I can get rid of the good morning without chopping my head off, which is ideal. So there's one way that you can go ahead and get a Bitmoji without, quote unquote, without words. Another thing you can do is search for the word pose. And here you're going to get all these Bitmojis without words, doing all kinds of different poses. So this is really going to help you. It's going to fulfill a lot of your requirements here. And you can also search sitting. Get a sitting Bitmoji. And for this one, I'm going to do a Halloween Bitmoji and see what I come up with. Because I'm doing a spooky room. All right, so let's pop. That's kind of extra creepy, but let's do this. Pop that in there. And there we go. Now it's just like before with my bookcase format options, drop shadow, and there we go. I've got my Bitmoji in there. And just to show you one more time, what I did to get it in there was I right-clicked, copy image, and then I just go over here and I paste it right into my slide. And that is that. I have seen, and I am going to try this, I have seen people who create kind of their own Bitmoji by pulling a body. Like I really want a witch, so I think I'm going to try and find a witch. And then once I have the witch, I'm going to come in here and let's see what comes up if I just search head. I'm going to try and find a picture. Let's go here. I think there's some in here. I'm going to try and find one of these that has just the head, or at least one that I can easily crop the head out. And then I'm going to try and build the head on top of the body, like this one. Build the head on top of the body of the witch, and then maybe add a witch hat. So you can kind of build something more specific to what you're trying to accomplish by doing that. There are a lot of new school ones in here, by the way, too. So if you search school, the science one is new, the globe is new. So this is cool. And my understanding is people were complaining to Bitmoji that there needed to be more school Bitmojis. And I guess now they're starting to deliver those. So they do add new stuff all the time. And hopefully, let's see, this is why 12 and up. Hopefully they will continue to add more school ones here as well. All right, so that's your Bitmoji. All right, so the next one is making your slideshow interactive. This here is an animated Bitmoji. I have directions way down here if this is something you want to, a bridge you want to cross, but this is time consuming. It does require multiple app connections. So, but it's doable. All right, so to make it interactive, we're talking more about all right, so I'm going to show you here how to make it interactive by adding links. So let's go back on in here. Let me add in some kind of an item here so that I can link it. So let's do a transparent pumpkin. Let's do jack-o'-lantern. All right, so I'm going to just pop this first one in, see how that looks. All right, so I have my jack-o'-lantern here. I'm going to plop it on the shelf. And I'm going to give it my drop shadow background. Or not background, but my drop shadow. All right, and now let's say I want to link this to some content. I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit Control K, and then I can paste a web URL here so I can link it to a website. Or if I drop this down, I can link it to a specific slide in the presentation. So if you remember at the beginning, I showed you how I created like a table of contents. I used this to link to slides. So this is where you can start making it interactive, where you can start linking items on the screen or text on the screen to web programs like Flipgrid that you want students to, activities that you want them to complete, content like documents that you share with them, anything that's available online, you can link it to an item all in one place. And that's what I like about this, because it makes one kind of central hub for students that's fun and interactive and pretty and exciting, that helps them to access all the materials that you need them to access for the class period, for the week, for the assignment, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. All right, the next thing, so this all shows you how to do your links. The next thing is arrows, right? So I linked my pumpkin, let's say, to a website or to a document, and I don't think students are going to realize that it's linked. So I could do a couple things. I could put a little speech bubble here and say, click the pumpkin, or I can do an arrow pointing to the pumpkin. So here is my arrow tool. I love the scribble one. I click on this scribble, and then I can do a little loopy line here. I add an arrowhead here to the end. I thicken the line here. I can change the color of the line, format, options, drop shadow. And now I have this indication here, and I can add a text box. So I can insert text box up here. Oops. See, this is why sometimes this is why that master slide is helpful. Insert text box right here. Click me if you dare. So now it's obvious that this is something that is a clickable element in the slideshow. So you may or may not feel that's necessary. Students, once you share it with students, you're going to share it in a way that they can kind of hover over and see what's clickable. But anything you can do to try and make sure that students are going in the right direction, any kind of directions you can give them, are super helpful. You can, of course, also insert like a video where you talk about what's there on the slide, or audio file. There are other options that you can explore, but this is the simple approach to make sure that they know something is a clickable element. Okay, I also showed you guys that we have the home key. So if you wanted to do that, you could search for a home key like this in Google image search. So I searched home icon. I'm going to make it transparent. And then I can copy this image, paste it here. Right click, Control K to link it. And then slides in this presentation, first slide, apply. And now if I click on that, it'll bring me to the first slide in my presentation. So that's making it interactive. It's really just a matter of linking things. And again, you can add in videos or audio as well if you want to go down that route. I don't have that in my presentation, but you can easily do a quick search on YouTube for how to do either one of those approaches. All right, so I also make my fonts fun. So I have some options here, how you can go about grabbing more interesting fonts and varying up your fonts. So ideally you want to have different fonts on your slide for the kind of the heading, the subheadings, and the text. There are 4 ways to add fun fonts that I have here. More fonts that are in slides, which is what I will show you right now. I also use hand-drawn letters at times. You can get them from Etsy, but I like to get them from Kate Hadfield. And so the directions for how to do that and how to find her are in here. Some of these fonts that you see here, I actually created my slide background in Microsoft PowerPoint, because you can use more fonts. You can use free fonts that you find online from places like thefonts.com. And you can't load those fonts into web-based platforms like Google Slides, which is one of the limitations of Google Slides. But again, the workaround is to create a background with your text in PowerPoint and bring it in, but now you're talking a lot more steps. So if that's something that you want to do, the directions for how to do that are here. And another fun one is textgiraffe.com, which I'll show you. So let me show you the fonts that are in your slideshow. All right, so for this text here, when I double click this text, I get my font menu up here, and here's my fonts. I can click on more fonts, and this brings me to every font that's available in this program. And there are a whole bunch more. So this one is clicked, or is checked off rather. This is available when I click on my font drop-down menu. But all these other ones are not. So I have gone through and I've started to add and customize what I want to show up in my fonts and what I don't. So I can go ahead through here and find something. And if I click on it, it gets added over here. And then once I add it over there, when I go in to my drop-down menu of fonts, oh, it's a new one, I think, I can use it then. All right, so if I hit OK, now all those fonts are available here in my drop-down. And you'll see I already have a lot more in here than you probably do because I've been adding them over time. So that's one way you can use more fun fonts in slides than you may have realized are available. The other option is to go to that Text Giraffe website. And this one creates logos for you. Now this is like akin to like the 90s. If you were doing website designing in the 90s, you know that they had all these like animated text tools, and they were like super, super cheesy. I like the flame and the ice and all that. These are way cooler than that. You have quite a few options. So I can put in, let's see, scary books. I don't know if there's going to be anything scary, but I can put in scary books, and then I can go through and I can click. You can't search and find something specific. You literally have to go through them. But until you find something that you like, and then you can click on it, brings it up nice and big. You can download it, or you can literally just copy it on the Pasteton. And there you go. That's fun and easy and free. I like free. So those are the two ways I'm going to show you. And again, if you want to try these other approaches, the directions are here for you as well. And the last thing I'm going to show you is how to share your slideshow in the best possible way. So now, if I've created this book room, I can share it with my students. And the way that most people share a Google slide is in such a way that they're going to come directly here. So it's like not really a very immersive experience. You're bringing them into slides where they can see your slide. I want to bring them to this experience. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click share. Oh, I got to give it a title. Okay, books. All right, once I've hit share, I want to make sure that I have, first of all, the setting done correctly. So I usually, honestly, do anyone on the internet can view. You can change it specifically to the Livingston domain. Obviously, if you do restricted, nobody who gets the link is going to be able to see it. So you don't want that. You want one of these. Then what you're going to do is you're going to copy that link. And wherever you paste it, you're going to come in and you're going to come down to the end. You're going to find this word edit. You're going to delete it. And you're going to type in the command present. This way, let me show you what happens. If somebody goes to this link. They come to this link and they're going to see this. Right? That's so much better. So much better than them coming to this and seeing all. It's like seeing behind the curtain. You don't want them to see behind the curtain. You want them to just come to your slide almost like it's a website. And that's how you do that. Just FYI, if you are trying to embed your slide anywhere on the web, what you're going to have to do is come over here to File, Publish to the Web, click the word Publish, say OK, and then you can grab the embed code here. So if that's something that you need to do for whatever program you're using, this is where you gather the embed code to embed the slide so that it exists directly on that website or program, as opposed to being a link where you have to come out and come to your slide. That was just a little quick extra. All right, so that is the end of my tutorials, I suppose. The remainder of my slides here, if you're using my slideshow, are examples and additional resources. Slide 18 is 2 of the groups on Facebook that I recommend that you follow if you're really going to get into using your Bitmoji to create your assignments. And I literally am at the point now where I'm using this approach for just about everything because it's just so fun and engaging. And I think right now, especially with students being at home and not being able to experience the physical classroom, doing these things kind of is as close as we're going to get to giving them that experience. This slide just gives you an overview of the Facebook group Bitmoji Craze for Educators, which is the biggest one. Here, I talked about before the animated Bitmoji. This is the directions to follow for that if that's something that you want to dive into. I have another tutorial here by Got Tech Ed, where they go over 6 easy steps to create your classroom. So if you want a quick version of what I went through and see how they do it, that's an option for you as well. Here, if you're using Google Classroom, this tutorial will help you to create a header in Google Classroom, whereas this tutorial on slide 23 helps you to create it in Schoology. We have another tutorial for a daily interactive schedule, so you can see the way that this person does it. She has some really great tutorials. This is just an example of my landing page on my website. You can take pictures of your physical classroom or even objects in your physical classroom and use them in your interactive classroom. So here I have my library space that I took a picture of. If I were just going to use, for example, this cart, I could take a picture of just the cart and use remove.bg to paste the cart as an object into my slideshow. So you have some neat ways that you can mix kind of the digital with the more realistic, and that's pretty fun too, and it gives it more dimension, I think. Here I just have a few examples of different Google Classrooms that people have created. Each of these is linked to the original article or the original classroom, so it's just a little rabbit hole that I'm opening up for you to explore, and you can go through and see all of these. These are just really fun looking. I love this. This is so cute. And if you're a gym teacher, this is a nice one too. I like this. Is fun. And I've also seen a lot of people do like brain break rooms or calming rooms. So there's just like really the options are endless. I have in here some free templates. So if you just want to get going and you don't want to spend a lot of time, but you want to have this available for your students, you can use some of the templates in here. Here's another free template. This is cute for like a schedule, what they're going to do for the whole week, right? And you can mix and match, right? You can do templates for certain things if you don't have the time, and then you can get more involved in other things. It's entirely up to you. The possibilities are endless. This slide is going to be super helpful because this is a repository of items. So the Google Drive is a huge repository of Bitmoji information and items, chairs, coffee mugs, clocks, desks. I honestly haven't even dove into this. I didn't create this. I found this, but I thought this was so helpful for some people to be able to browse through and maybe be inspired by the items as you create your room. Because I know for me, sometimes when I get to the point where I'm adding little items to kind of round out, I'm having trouble thinking of what I want to search for. So that's helpful. This Pinterest link gives you a bunch of backgrounds. Here's another free template, more free templates, more free templates. Here's another tutorial for making interactive Google Classrooms. Here's another way of mixing the digital with the real. So these people have taken photographs of themselves and used remove.bg to make kind of a real Bitmoji. So they're not using Bitmoji at all, but rather themselves as an avatar. There's another just example of a daily screen. This is a resource for math teachers, making virtual classroom design ideas. So this is another way to go of inspiring yourself, another inspirational one. This is not Bitmoji related, but it's interactive and it's a free How I Feel slide, so we can check in on our students. Here's Bitmoji classroom posters, directions for how to do that. I think actually you can download these and replace the Bitmoji with your own. I added in a freebie here that you can get a copy of and replace the Bitmojis in here with your own for Zoom directions for students, or if you're using Google Meet, you can swap this out. And in here, I have a virtual exhibit. So it's a virtual gallery walk. All the templates for virtual gallery walks are here for you to grab, and if you want to add your classroom, once you're done, to this, so we can come back and look at what you've done, the directions for how to do that are on this last slide. And here, somebody added theirs already, so that's pretty cool. So it's nice to see. I like to see what you do. And again, I think we get so much inspiration just from seeing one another's work. And make sure that if you do, you link in to your slide. And this is another one that I've created. And actually, I should have, let me fix that. I should have changed my link so that it is present instead of edit. We do forget that sometimes. Apply, and then here we go. It's going to be better. There it is. Yay. And there really is just so much more that you can explore. Like I added frames in here to frame these items on the wall. It's just so much fun. But you're going to learn mostly by doing with this approach. I hope that this walkthrough is helpful. I really hope that the slideshow of resources is helpful. I really recommend that you join those Facebook groups to get new ideas. I'm getting new ideas every day. I actually made a Zoom waiting room yesterday because I saw people making waiting rooms on that Facebook group. And there are tutorials online for how to set up your Zoom waiting room. And actually I have my tutorial up right here. So I am always learning and coming up with finding new fun ways to use Bitmoji, in my classroom. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for learning with me. My information is on this slide here at the bottom. If you have questions, please email me. I am so happy to help you with your Google Bitmoji virtual classroom. It's such a mouthful. I don't know. We should say virtual classroom. I'm so happy to help you anytime. Just shoot me an email and show me what you did. I really like to see everybody's classrooms. All right, take care.